average. Pop a twist cabbage off instinct. Niggas don't think shit stink. Pink Gators, my Detroit players. Tim's for my hooligans in Brooklyn. That's dead right. Hit the head right. Biggie there every night. Papa been smooth since days of under rules. Never lose, never choose to. Bruise, cruise, who? Do something to us. Talk, go through us. Girls walk to us. Wanna do us. Screw us. Who us? Yeah, Papa and Puff. Close like Starsky and Hutch. Stick the clutch. Yeah, I squeeze 3 at your cherry M3. Bang every MC easily. Recently, niggas frontin' ain't saying nothing, so I just speak my peace, keep my peace. Cubans with the Jesus peace, with my peeps packing, asking who want it. You got it, nigga, flaunt it. That Brooklyn bullshit, we on it.
Biggie, 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 can't you see? Sometimes your words just hypnotize me, and I just love your flashy ways. Guess that's why they're broken, you're so paid. Biggie, 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 can't you see? Sometimes your words just hypnotize me, and I just love your flashy ways. Guess that's why they're broken, you're so paid.
I put O's and NY onto DKNY. Miami, DC, prefer Versace. All Philly hoes know it's Moschino. Every cutie with a booty, boy, the coochie. Now who's the real dude? Meaning who's really the shit? Them niggas fly dicks. Frank White push the 6 on the Lexus LX 4.5. Bulletproof glass tips if I want some ass. Gon' blast wings first, ask questions last. That's how most of these so-called gangsters pass. At last, a nigga rapping about blunts and bras, tits and bras, menage a trois, sex and expensive cars. I still leave you on the pavement. Condo paid for, no car payment. At my arraignment, no for the plaintiff. Your daughter's tied up in the Brooklyn basement. Face it, not guilty. That's how I stay filthy. Richer than richer, so you niggas come and get me.
Biggie, 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 can't you see? Sometimes your words just hypnotize me, and I just love your flashy ways. Guess that's why they're broken, you're so paid. Biggie, 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 can't you see? Sometimes your words just hypnotize me, and I just love your flashy ways. Guess that's why they're broken, you're so paid.
By its decision today, the Liberal Party has given new heart and hope to millions of Australians throughout this country who are aching for an alternative government.
Rebonjour à tous, merci d'être de nouveau avec nous. Nous allons reprendre nos travaux pour cette deuxième partie de journée. Et pour ouvrir cet après-midi, nous vous proposons un moment qu'on sait très attendu de vous tous, la séquence de passation avec la révélation officielle de la destination du CHU Healthtech Connexion Day 2026. On se projette déjà. J'ai le plaisir d'inviter sur scène Vincent-Nicolas Delpech, directeur général du CHU de Bordeaux, qui nous accueille cette année, et Frédéric Girard, président de France Biotech. Merci d'être avec nous. Vous allez procéder à la passation et révéler dans quelques instants la prochaine ville hôte. Je vous en prie, prenez un micro tous les trois.
Je suis Vincent-Nicolas Delpech, mais je suis accompagné, et j'y tenais, par Madame le professeur Nathalie Salle, présidente de la CME du CHU de Bordeaux.
Merci d'être avec nous.
Bon, Nathalie et moi, nous sommes très heureux de vous avoir accueillis à Bordeaux. On espère que vous profitez de cette 4e édition. Nous avions des interrogations après la session de Lille. On se disait, est-ce que ça va continuer à prendre? Est-ce qu'on ne va pas sentir un petit essoufflement? Non. 1200 participants, un enthousiasme, des échanges qui se créent, que l'on a pu constater. Et c'est une très grande satisfaction pour nous de vous avoir accueillis avec France Biotech, avec la conférence des DG ici à Bordeaux. Merci de votre participation.
Bravo, bravo à tous.
Et alors, maintenant, je dois lancer la vidéo.
Et oui, pour mettre fin au suspense.
Allez, 1, 2, 3, top vidéo.
Et voilà, donc les 1er et 2 décembre dans la région Auvergne-Rhône-Alpes. Et nous allons donc inviter à nous rejoindre sur scène les directeurs généraux des CHU de la région Auvergne-Rhône-Alpes, Monique Sorrentino, DG du CHU Grenoble-Alpes, Raymond Lemoigne, DG des Hospices civils de Lyon et administrateur du GCS Oura, et Olivier Bossard, DG du CHU de Saint-Étienne. Je vous laisse faire la passation entre vous.
Vous connaissez la plus grande qualité des Bordelais? L'humilité. Et donc, ce n'est pas sans une certaine émotion que je constate qu'il faut 4 CHU pour remplacer le CHU de Bordeaux. Raymond, à toi.
Merci beaucoup. Voilà, on a passé des bons moments, on a encore un après-midi à passer ensemble et on est très heureux de prendre le relais. Donc vous avez compris que nous allons nous y prendre à 4, mais avec évidemment une capacité à démultiplier notre impact et on espère vous convaincre de nous rejoindre. Donc on a au moins 3 raisons pour vous donner envie de nous rejoindre les 1er 2 décembre. 3 raisons. Première raison, voilà, nous serons 4, là nous ne sommes que 3 en ce moment, mais il y aura la totalité des 4 CHU. On va essayer évidemment de montrer autre chose, de nous poser d'autres questions, y compris en ayant glané ce qui nous a été rapporté pendant ces 2 jours. Première raison. La deuxième raison, alors comme je suis un tout petit peu, j'ai demandé à Philippe Aguillon, comme hier on a eu un cours sur l'économie de l'innovation, et donc Aguillon aurait dit il faut aller dans la région Auvergne-Rhône-Alpes parce que l'innovation se produit là où les institutions favorisent l'expérimentation. Donc ça on coche la case. Il aurait dit aussi la force des écosystèmes régionaux, c'est la proximité entre chercheurs, praticiens et entreprises. On coche la case. Et il a dit aussi l'innovation est d'autant plus féconde qu'elle est contestable. Pas mal, ça fait du bien aussi. Deuxième raison. Et la troisième raison, en fait, ce qui fonctionne dans nos univers professionnels, que ce soit dans le monde de la biotech ou que ce soit dans le monde des CHU, c'est quand même les belles histoires. les histoires que l'on peut se raconter, les réussites. Et l'innovation, c'est l'une des plus belles matrices des belles histoires. Les histoires que l'on peut pitcher quand on vient du monde de l'entreprise, les histoires qu'on peut pitcher lorsqu'on vient du monde du CHU, quand le pitch de l'un répond à l'autre. Et quand vous mettez tout cela, vous le mettez avec des conférences inspirantes, des keynotes assez de très haut niveau, vous avez normalement la possibilité de séduire même les plus sceptiques d'entre nous. Et c'est ça qui est prodigieux dans l'innovation, c'est cette possibilité de raconter des histoires et donc de donner envie, malgré toutes les difficultés, donner envie, parce que c'est une façon aussi de manager. Même l'innovation, ça se manage. On vous donne rendez-vous donc à Lyon, 4 CHU, regroupés dans le groupement de coopération sanitaire Oura. Pas de risque, et on sera tous ensemble et on sera très heureux de vous accueillir. Merci à Lyon et merci à Bordeaux de nous passer le témoin.
Merci à vous, bravo.
Merci beaucoup Raymond Lemoigne et merci évidemment aux autres partenaires régionaux. Vous avez effectivement coché toutes les cases et on sera très heureux de vous retrouver l'année prochaine. Et bravo pour cette belle nouvelle. Bonne préparation parce qu'on disait hier soir qu'elle commence dès le mois de janvier, donc je crois que le travail va être très prochain. Nous allons accueillir maintenant la séquence suivante, encore un rendez-vous majeur que vous attendez tous dans notre programme. Il s'agit de la plénière internationale. Cette table ronde va proposer un tour d'horizon des modèles internationaux les plus performants en matière d'innovation en santé. L'objectif est bien sûr de comprendre les facteurs clés du succès, les modèles de collaboration et les approches qui fonctionnent concrètement ailleurs également. Mais avant d'accueillir les coordinateurs de cette session internationale, nous allons écouter Georges Fabrice Blum, fédérateur santé au ministère de l'Europe et des Affaires étrangères. On peut l'accueillir et l'applaudir. Merci d'être avec nous. La parole est à vous.
Merci beaucoup, mesdames et messieurs, en vos grades et qualités. Au nom du ministre de l'Europe et des Affaires étrangères que je présente, je suis heureux et honoré d'intervenir à l'occasion du CHU Healthtech Connexion Day 2025. À ce titre, je remercie la conférence des directeurs généraux des CHRU et France Biotech pour l'organisation de cet événement. Je m'adresse à vous aujourd'hui en tant que fédérateur pour la santé à l'export, où, je vous le rappelle, le ministre des Affaires étrangères et son ministre délégué au commerce extérieur m'ont nommé et m'ont confié ma feuille de route avec 3 missions. Tout d'abord, celle de les représenter tant en France qu'à l'étranger pour les dossiers de santé à l'export. Ensuite, celle d'orienter et de conseiller la politique du gouvernement dans le domaine de la santé à l'export. Et enfin, celle de fédérer tout l'écosystème de la santé à l'export en présidant notamment le comité stratégique des industries et technologies de santé à l'international pour la santé à l'export, d'où mon titre de fédérateur pour la santé à l'export. Mais j'ai également, pendant près de 40 ans, été un praticien, un enseignant et un chercheur en gynécologie et en obstétrique, mais aussi en management de la santé, où j'ai enseigné la qualité et la gestion des risques en santé. J'ai pu aussi, par mes fonctions d'expert auprès des tribunaux, mais aussi autant qu'expert auprès de la HAS, voir tout au long de ma riche et diverse carrière comment le progrès scientifique a contribué aussi bien aux soignants par l'amélioration des conditions de travail, de leur expertise et leur pratique, mais également aux soignés. Les healthtech prennent une part croissante dans la vie des hôpitaux. Les inclure de manière fluide dans le parcours patient nécessite une concertation de tous les acteurs concernés, que ce soit les entrepreneurs, les CHU, les acteurs institutionnels, les agences en santé et bien plus encore. La France a la chance de regorger de start-up et d'industriels reconnus mondialement qui repoussent constamment les limites de l'innovation. Je le vois bien quand je me rends en mission à l'étranger pour valoriser les entreprises françaises du secteur. Il y a une réelle et constante demande du savoir-faire français. Nous cherchons notamment à mettre en avant l'avantage comparatif de la France, que j'aime à rappeler l'offre intégrée. Nous avons les acteurs capables de fournir les infrastructures, le matériel médical, les médicaments, la formation nécessaire, et quand je parle de formation, c'est bien sûr celle des soins, mais aussi celle du management hospitalier, et surtout les healthtech. Toutes les entreprises, de la TPE aux grands groupes industriels, toutes les entreprises présentes aujourd'hui ont leur place dans cette offre intégrée. Je vous invite par ailleurs, pour ceux qui ne l'ont pas encore fait, à rejoindre l'association French Healthcare, qui regroupe plus de 300 membres et fédère tout l'écosystème français en santé pour l'exportation. Je tiens également à remercier sincèrement les CHU présents aujourd'hui pour leurs actions de coopération internationale. J'ai connaissance des efforts nécessaires à mettre en place pour effectuer ces actions, tout en veillant bien sûr au fonctionnement quotidien d'un CHU. Sachez, mesdames et messieurs les directeurs de CHU, que je suis votre relais et votre interlocuteur auprès des institutionnels du ministère de l'Europe et des Affaires étrangères français, mais également auprès des institutionnels et des décideurs des autres pays du monde. D'ailleurs, c'est amusant, je reçois demain matin en visio, par le biais de votre représentant, de votre commission médicale internationale, je vous reçois les directeurs de CHU. Sachez que je suis aussi à votre disposition pour vous aider, tant les CHU que les entrepreneurs, à faire rayonner la France et lui faire gagner les marchés de la santé partout dans le monde. Et vous le savez aussi bien que moi, la concurrence est et sera de plus en plus dure. Mais au-delà des marchés qu'il faut gagner pour les entreprises, c'est aussi un combat des valeurs qu'il faut mener. Ces valeurs humanistes qui nous ont façonnés et qui reposent sur les 3 piliers fondamentaux de notre société, à savoir la liberté, l'égalité et la fraternité, pour que toutes les populations, où qu'elles se trouvent sur le globe, aient accès à des soins de qualité, et ce, pour tout un chacun. Je ne serai pas plus long parce que mon temps est compté, et je tenais à vous remercier pour votre attention et vous souhaite à toutes et à tous d'excellents et très fructueux échanges durant cette session internationale de cet après-midi. Je vous remercie.
Un grand merci à vous, Georges Fabrice Blum. Merci d'avoir fait le déplacement jusqu'à nous. Et j'appelle maintenant sur scène les 2 coordinateurs de cette session internationale, Samir Eni, directeur général du CHU de Strasbourg, et Célia Belline, coordinatrice des relations internationales de France Biotech et CEO de Silcare. Bienvenue à tous les 2. Merci d'être à nos côtés. Et nous invitons ensemble les intervenants de cette plénière, Clémentine Baudy, directrice projets transverses et internationaux de l'Agence de l'innovation en santé, Michaela Fritz de la Medical University de Vienne, Thomas Gazlig de la Charité Berlin, Dermot Keller du Canadian Immuno-Engineering and Biomanufacturing Hub de Vancouver, Robert Mardini des hôpitaux universitaires de Genève et Anna Sala de l'Université hospitalière du Val-d'Hebron de Barcelone. Un grand merci à toutes et tous d'être présents à nos côtés, d'avoir fait le déplacement. Place aux échanges.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this international session on accelerating innovation and transforming care delivery. Today we're joined by leaders from some of the most high-performing hospitals and health innovation agencies across Europe and North America. Our goal is to explore how health systems can not only innovate rapidly, but also implement changes that are sustainable, scalable, and truly patient-centered. We'll hear real-world experiences, discussing strategies that have proven effective, new practices, and collaboration mechanisms. I'm Célia Belline. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Silcare, that is a Boston, Montpellier-based clinical stage biotech specialized in the detection and treatment of hearing disorders. And with Professor Samir Eni, Chief Executive Officer of the University Hospital of Strasbourg, it is our great pleasure to serve as moderators for this distinguished panel session. Samir.
So thank you very much, Celia. So just a quick reminder before for our panelists. So when responding to our first question, so please begin by briefly describing your own position and your institution. So let's start with the first question to Anna Sala from Val-d'Hebron. So let's begin with you, Anna. Every innovation journey starts with invention. But even more crucial is recognizing medical need or unmet need. Val-d'Hebron has excelled in this area, having supported the creation of nearly 20 to 30 biotech startups, mainly in oncology and hematology. You've developed a highly dynamic approach. Could you walk us through your process and share how you make it work so effectively and so efficiently?
Okay. Good morning. Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here and with such amazing event and with such amazing roundtable. I'm Ana Sala, I'm a medical doctor and also entrepreneur, and I'm the Vice President of Digital Transformation Commission and Innovation Commission and the head of innovation in our hospital. Vall d'Hebron Hospital it's in Vall d'Hebron. It's the largest hospital in Catalonia. We have more than 11,000 professionals working there, and also we have all specialties, and we have a very complex disease and complex patients, so we face a lot of challenge. And for that, and take into account that 70% of initiative of change fail for a weak leadership and for a weak culture of innovation, the role of our hospital in the strategy of innovation is both, is top-down and bottom-up. So to try to push and to foster the innovation, we create a specific innovation strategic plan that is aligned with the general strategic plan with more than 8 lines and with more than 100 action plan. And also we have different departments of innovation. We have 2 offices of tech transfer that work together with my head unit department. And also we have a specific procurement innovation department. And we have both commission, digital transformation and innovation commission, that all the different parts of professionals are involved. So we have a very hard structure to make sure that all professionals see that our hospital is committed with the innovation. But without frontline, it's impossible to innovate. So we develop a champion innovation networks. So we detect professionals that are good in innovation in different departments. And this is the way that from our department we can detect unmet needs, and we help to push these unmet needs to ideas, and then we create a dashboard, an active dashboard that we can make matchmaking with some solution from outside, from tech transfer or from other technological or also companies in or universities. And also if there is any solution, we just give and help the professionals to push these ideas to co-create with them and with the patients. We involve patients in the beginning of the journey of the innovation. And when we detect that the idea could be protected, we just protect with intellectual and also help them with the regulatory pathway and put this idea in the office, tech transfer offices. So with this journey of the innovation, we reach nowadays 23 different spin-off in our research institute, in one of the research institute, and 5 more in the oncology research institute. So we think that this model is good because we are in contact from the front line and also in the research and the tech transfer unit, and also in the we are in touch with the university. So we think that the innovation is very complex, and we need to work together, and the communication has to be fluid to make sense that this idea comes to the market. So this is very, very quick, the journey of innovation in our hospital.
Thank you, and that's very creative. So 23 spin-offs and a competition. So that's the big keywords of how you innovate in Barcelona. Congratulations. So now we've heard about your experiences. I'm actually curious, Thomas, to learn about your work at Charity in leveraging IP protection. You had a very successful initiative with T-Knife Therapeutics, and the IP management has clearly been a factor of success. So could you share the story behind this and explain your approach for safeguarding and scaling innovation?
It's a pleasure. So bonjour. It's great to be here. Thank you very much. I'm Thomas Götzig. I'm the Managing Director of Charité BH Innovation. That's the joint technology transfer of the Charité University Hospital and the so-called Berlin Institute of Health, which is an extra university research institute now integrated into Charité. Charité is the largest German university hospital with more than 3,000 beds and 24,000 staff. And we have also strong emphasis on research with 28 ERC grants and more than 300 million third-party money. From the innovation side, within the last years, we produced about 50 startups coming out of the Charité environment and 50 million euro license income. Overall, that's fine, but I think we can do much better. And the example you mentioned is it's not the result of a structured process. So overall, I have to admit it's a lucky punch because the success factor was a motivated scientist. And the IP in this case was a trade secret. It's a mouse model generating T-cell receptors. And we can learn a lot from this example because first it shows us that in life science, the innovation journey is a long journey. So in this example, it started 20 years ago. And the success was 2 years ago when this company get more than 160 million venture capital, which is quite a lot. And we will see how this is going on. And indeed, IP is key because without IP, it's clear there will be no industry investment. And this large bunch of venture capital money would not have come to us without any IP. So we have to focus on this. And this is maybe the main point I think we can do better because we made a short analysis of how much IP really gets into the innovation journey. And we found out it's less than 10%. So we miss a huge of it. We miss the most of it. And I think this is something we have to change. We have to become better and we must make innovation part of the scientific process. And we've very often faced the situation that the academia is still not really interested in innovation and technology transfer. And this is something Europe is much behind, for example, the United States, UK, Israel, Singapore, all these emerging countries. And we have to focus on this. And I think we are too much on the second part in nurturing these projects. We have to concentrate on the starting points to get critical mass.
Thank you, Thomas. So, herzlich willkommen also in Bordeaux. That was very insightful. So let's go to Michaela's experience at the Medical University in Vienna. So your technology transfer policy, especially under which IP have been transferred, has evolved specially and considerably since your initial experience. Could you share some lessons I've learned and maybe to explain how the process is structured today? Please, Michaela.
Thank you very much, and also thank you for the invitation, and it's great being part of this extraordinary panel. And so my name is Michaela, I'm Vice President for Research and Innovation at the Medical University of Vienna, so I'm on the university side, and so you probably wonder why I am on this panel, and probably we could discuss a whole afternoon on the different models hospitals and universities work together because you have a lot of different models here. Vienna has still a very special one because the university employs all medical doctors. This is more than 1,500 doctors are within the General Hospital of Vienna. And that's why I can talk mainly about how we get innovation out of the university. So less like Anna, who is also trying to implement innovation in the hospital. And so we really wanted to focus during the last year how we get more startups and how can we accelerate this process. And therefore, we talked to a lot of stakeholders, to the startups, to the investors. And they said one of the main topics is also how fast are we in negotiating contracts. And so therefore, we decided it's more efficient to have clear boundaries for conditions, being licensing fees, shares, milestone payments. and have these boundaries and just discuss, at which range of a licensing fee we are discussing, but not start over and over again the whole process of negotiation. And I think this is really a benefit for both sides if we increase the speed of contracting. So maybe you lose a little bit in one case, maybe on the other case, but overall we are gaining a lot if we can accelerate and have it very, very transparent. And I have to say that also investors like this approach, startups like this approach, and I think it makes our life just really much, much easier.
Thank you, Michaela. So I come back to the intellectual property topics with you, Dermot, to hear how you manage it at the University of British Columbia. You've been instrumental in several international biotech successes, including Acritas, one of the 11 biotech funded by Peter Cullis, a leading physicist and biochemist and in lipid nanoparticles, as well as Notch Therapeutics, Gandiva Therapeutics, and Abcelera. So some of the success factors seems to echo those highlighted in the previous speakers. Could you elaborate on your approach and what has made this initiative super successful?
Thank you very much, and it's a real privilege to be here today, and appreciate the invitation from Frederic to talk to you today. I'm Dermot Kelleher. I'm just finished 10 years term as Dean of the Faculty of Medicine at the University of British Columbia. During that time, I led the creation of Canada's Immune Engineering and Biomanufacturing Hub, and I continue to chair this entity, which is an entity that brings together researchers focused on pandemic preparedness, and this has resulted in $200 million in grant funding over the last couple of years. I'll talk a little bit more about that a bit later, but the interesting things about how we process intellectual property and encourage the development of startup companies is not very dissimilar from what Thomas and Michaela have referred to. There's a high failure rate in the transition. The university holds the licenses, holds the ownership of the intellectual property, and although we have separate hospital systems, everyone within those hospital systems is at least clinical faculty or full academic faculty within the university. So the majority of intellectual property within the hospital system is managed by the University Technology Transfer Office, and they manage the distribution of the funds. Now, the question really is around how do we enhance the creation of new intellectual property and technology transfer. And the first two individuals that have been referred to, that is Peter Cullis, and actually the last one is Carl Hansen from Abcelera. They have been working particularly, they came to fame really within the period of COVID, because Peter Cullis's work led to the creation of the lipid nanoparticles that I think most of you have a little piece of Peter Cullis's IP within you by virtue of having received the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine. Peter would refer to his success as 40 years, that it took 40 years to become an overnight success. And he has worked on lipid nanoparticles consistently over those 40 years and created the vehicle for gene therapy, for liposomal amphotericin, and for other therapeutics. The Carl Hansen discovery was really critical because his technology platform that he spun out into Abcelera led to the creation of 2 antibody drugs which have been commercialized globally by Lilly and which were developed within 100 days of the pandemic, resulting in the ability to actually treat resistant cases in a rapid way. So for us now then, we could say those 2 are unicorns that spring out. How do we generate more unicorns? How do we actually increase the level of awareness across the entire space? So what we've done over the last 10 years is that we've actually selectively recruited academics who have a translational focus. And that doesn't mean that we're exclusively recruiting academics with a translational focus, but the two subsequent companies, Gandiva and Notch, that were referred to, come from our recruitment of Sriram Subramanian and Peter Zanstra, who are two outstanding scientists who are totally focused on how their research translates, even though they are masters in basic science, effectively. And so by increasing the pool, and then by creating an educational program through an entity we call the Academy of Translational Medicine, we are propagating information regarding intellectual property, propagating information regarding what is important for commercial development, and bringing our community into the university, our community of entrepreneurs who have developed successful companies to challenge our up-and-coming scientists to make them think about what is commercially viable.
Thank you, Dermot. Very interesting. So, centralization of the IP distribution, I would say, then the consistency. That's a very interesting word.
Michaela, I think, referred to that, and I think that's really important.
Yeah, people work long time on their research, and translation is something. Competencies, education of translation competencies within the hospital. So very interesting. Thank you. I'm back to Thomas now. And Thomas, we're going to talk about funding because you have very interesting and innovative funding system, especially with a company called AI Agnostic.
AI Agnostics, yeah.
Thank you. I try to. So I leave you explain that company.
Yeah, thank you very much. AI Agnostic is born in our so-called Digital Health Accelerator. We have, coming with the Berlin Institute of Health, two funding instruments, one for dry lab and one for wet lab research. And of course, in dry lab, it's mainly with computer associated, and AI Agnostic is born in the area of helping pathology analysis by using AI. And now they developed into selling tools to pharma industry for drug development. Overall, it's quite successful. There are more than 100 staff there, and they also raised above 60 million euro venture capital, which is a lot for a digital company. And in this instrument, we produced now about 15 spin-offs the last 4 to 5 years, so it's good. And it's a two-step funding. So first is, I would say, it's a proof of concept funding, up to 100,000 per project. And the second, which only a few get in, is working out the business model. And so we invest in this. And of course, we found out success factors. I have to say, it's not only the funding and the technology transfer, but you also need someone who is willing to do this. So a personal motivation of someone is crucial for this. And when we're talking about improving innovation, it's not about changing the science, it's about changing the way we deal with the results. And you need someone who look into the results and say, hey, that's something for the market. Let's go for it and apply for a grant in one of our instruments. And so that is part of the story. What we found out, and this is a learning from this, and this is I'm referring to Michaela, is that negotiations for the spin-off process took too long. And that's why we also developed standard spin-off terms based on the established international models, mainly the so-called Autumn standard in US or the Use It guide. And these two documents are fantastic. And so we referred on this, adapted it a little bit and make it standard within Charité. And we see indeed that our negotiations with potential founders become very shortly much more smoothly. So this is definitely the right direction. And we also take equity, we take it indirectly via our commercialization partner. And also we have usually exclusive license contracts. And
thank you, Thomas. Just to have a bridge between you and Vienna, so coming back to Michaela, after discussion and after handling IP and funding, I'd like to turn a fundamental element as innovation, as you know, access to patient data. having access to high quality data is essential, as you know, everybody. You have experience with one of the first startups that developed an AI-based solution for image interpretation. How do you facilitate access to this startup, and how could be your support be developed?
I think it's really interesting that we have now two examples in the AI field as a startup. So the one I'm talking about is Context Flow, but I would like to talk about it more generally, because as one of the also largest hospitals in Europe with almost 2 million inpatients a year, we generate a lot of data, and clinicians tend to think they're their data, and they want to sit on their data, protect the data. GDPR is holy, it's very, very important, but we think it's also the patients who ask us to make use of the data and do research and bring innovation out there. And therefore, we really try to give broad access to basically all patient data we have there with imaging, and we mirror them into a research system and give access. And therefore, we have like a data clearance unit who look if there is the contract in place, if there is technical compliance in place, and how we can do transfer, or can the algorithm be trained in-house. So we just really think it's really, really important to do something with the data, because that's also what patients want, not only the protection of their data, but also make use of data for good innovation. And yeah, I think that's a change of also culture, not only culture you're talking about, culture that sharing can bring probably more innovation into the field than just being, sitting on your own data and just not doing anything with it.
Thank you, Michaela. Just go to the colleague from Switzerland, so Robert, cher Robert. I'm very happy to see you now again, cher friend. We were with the French CHU last couple of weeks in your institution in HUG, Hôpitaux Universitaires de Genève, and we were very, very impressed by the huge achievement that you mentioned and that you did. So just coming back to innovation, we have seen just innovation can also serve the organization of the hospital. So maybe 3 questions for you, if you allow me. The first one is that HUG did develop and deploy DPI+, non DPI, which is an integrated ERP, tracking all patient journey. What are the benefits, and what the local healthcare professional commitment? And the second question is we have seen that you developed a very practical tool, head-to-toe, very useful for the staff, and what could be the genesis of this project? And the third question, last one, and we've seen that you are now developing the DPI Plus to different cantons in Geneva and outside Geneva canton. How do you secure this deployment? So, merci, Robert. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me, and it's a pleasure to be here. So, Robert Mardini, I'm the Director General of the Hôpitaux Universitaires de Genève, which is the largest university hospital in Switzerland. There are no 32 CHU in Switzerland, only 5. But it's a quite special hospital because it does cover tertiary, secondary, and primary healthcare, because Geneva is a canton but also a city, and we cover all specialties. And it's fascinating. It's the largest maternity of the canton. It is certainly also covering psychiatry, geriatric, and readaptation, etc. I think the topic is very important because every institution invests in innovations, and I think we all struggle with the same conundrum: how to make innovations adopted across the board. And I think the 2 examples you mentioned are really innovations that started grassroots at HUG and that have been now largely adopted. The DPI+, which is the Dossier du Patient Informatisé, was created 30 years ago by clinicians, for clinicians. And the idea was very simple, is to move from a scattered environment of patchwork applications here and there that could hardly communicate with one another to an integrated system that really covered the pathway of the patient end to end, from admission to diagnosis to clinical care, discharge, research, but also billing. So everything is included, and it was really built over time with the input of clinicians. So it was very iterative work groups and the governance also that ensured the sovereignty, the adaptability, the agility of the tool, so that it can adjust also to crisis. It proved to be a very agile and robust tool during the COVID-19 pandemic in the hospital. And I think today, I'm just 1 year in the job. So one of my first questions when I came is, what is our IT tool? And the question was, we have a homegrown tool. So I was a bit skeptical, because I know that homegrown tools have some setbacks. But touring the hospital, there is no clinician that is not proud to use this tool. And I think there are benefits today, because we all struggle with the data and with the safety, integrity of the data. And I think beyond all the technicalities lie a very important concept, which is the trust. Patients have vis-a-vis institutions and the other way around. And I think in times of great geopolitical polarization, it is important that we can ensure 100% data, patient data security and safety. And I think this tool today ensures this and makes us very independent vis-a-vis vendors, but also vis-a-vis some legislation such as the Cloud Act in the US or the Patriot Act. And I think this is something important that made it interesting for, and I go to the next question, to the Canton du Valais. Switzerland is a small country, but there are 26 cantons, and they are governed by different laws and regulations. So it's quite a challenge to, replicate a solution from one canton to the other. And yet we managed to do it, not by selling a product, but by really co-creating the same solution and tailor-made it to the needs of the Valais canton. And so we had a joint governance co-chaired by my counterpart of the Hôpital du Valais and his ICT team. And now we're 2 years in this journey, and it's very promising, because now they are very happy to rely on this very tool. The other example you mentioned, Head to Toe, is also another innovation. It's 10 years old, and it really was created from a very concrete need from clinicians. So two student doctors and clinicians created this tool, and it was about having a patient assessment tool without drowning into forms and written forms, etc. Something that is bedside friendly and that works so well that today it is a solution that is shared by hundreds of hospitals across the world. It has gained awards recently, and it was able to raise 12 million. So it's really an innovation that went into a startup, and that is now a company outside the hospital. And I think we take great pride of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Before I move to the next question, I was actually counting in my head how many companies you spin out of your hospital. So it's more than 60 or 50, 60 if I make the count of all of you. So it's a great achievement, I think, if we come back to the metrics that we need to implement for researcher and clinician to have some incentive to go out. It's 60 companies that come out of this roundtable, so very good. I'm coming back to you, Dermot. That's my question, to go back to the university that you have inside the hospital and explain a little bit how you created that school of biomedical engineering and what are the rationale behind this initiative. You talked a little bit about it already. And what benefits have you seen from this interdisciplinary approach? So if you can just give more insight.
Thank you very much indeed. The rationale for establishing a school of biomedical engineering, I think there are many schools of biomedical engineering, but our school of biomedical engineering is not exclusively within the engineering faculty. It's a joint venture between the faculties of medicine and the faculties of engineering, and that's really, really important. Now, as time has gone on, people have think about biomedical engineering as being perhaps focused on devices or on technologies that enable minimally invasive surgery, etc. But biomedical engineering has increasingly been moving into cellular and molecular engineering. So CAR T cells are part of biomedical engineering now. RNA engineering is part of biomedical engineering. And so there's such a synergy between the scientists in our clinical and basic research labs who are thinking about questions which relate to solutions that may be in the cellular and molecular engineering space, and engineering faculty members of this new generation. So the really important thing about this is that we are accustomed as clinical people to thinking about the implementation of solutions, drugs, new therapies on a somewhere between 12 to 18-year timeline. That's the timeline that we're accustomed to. Engineers don't think like that. Engineers think about solutions that can be implemented at a faster rate. And that has probably reflects the fact that the regulatory science around devices has been different than the regulatory science for drugs. But nonetheless, it brings a real focus to solutions. So what we did was we created some targeted recruitment. So many of our clinical departments now have an engineer within that department who also sits within the School of Biomedical Engineering. So there's actually a cadre of biomedical engineers embedded in clinical departments. In the surgery department, they call it engineers in scrubs, because they go to the theatre and they look at problems and try and find solutions. What it means for us is we benefited from having a whole new educational program, from being funded to create a new biomedical engineering building. But the most important thing is the cultural change that it has brought about. Michaela mentioned cultural change, and you mentioned it, Anna. The cultural change that is brought about within our faculty, because our faculty within medicine are starting to think in similar ways to faculty members within engineering. And it's also brought both faculties closer together in many other ways, because the electrical engineers are now engaged. The chemical engineers and the process engineers are now thinking about how to manufacture. And the opportunity came to make an application to the federal government with regard to pandemic preparedness. When we thought about what we do a lot of really great immunology, but the engineers would say, what we should be doing is how do we engineer the immune system to be the solution to infectious disease problems, to cancer, to inflammatory diseases. So the engineers turned our thinking around, and we were able to propose to government the creation of an immune engineering and biomanufacturing hub, which brings the entire value chain into our space, because we have the capacity to think about the seriously important research questions, use the engineering skills to think about the solutions, and we have the chemical engineers and the process engineers supporting us to do biomanufacturing for clinical grade, for pilot studies, not for very large scale studies, but for pilot studies. So the whole value chain up to that point comes into our space. So it's been a transformational partnership, and it has been a partnership, and it has been equally beneficial for both faculties. But the question then of new intellectual property, this has been a real revelation in how to create new IP.
Thank you, Dermot. So some cultural dynamics. So coming back to Anna, to deploying innovation beyond the home institution, going through boundaries. So it can be a significant challenge. It could be a significant challenge. So at Val d'Hebron, how do you manage change and ensure that successful option outside Val d'Hebron?
I think this is a problem in all the different healthcare systems, no? Because we wanted to pass through pilot to scale-up projects. So we have both. First, we have to demonstrate value of our ideas. And we started to include, I said before, that we have an innovation competition to foster the culture in innovation in our hospital. And the winner of this competition, the hospital compromised to implement this idea in the next year. So during this jury, we include people from CAT-SALUD, that is the payer of our hospital, and also people from AGUAS, that is the agency of quality and also of evaluation of new technology. So from the beginning of the implementation of an idea, we just talk with these institutions to make sure that our idea just solves a real unmet need, that it's also in the rest of the health system. So that way, we start to just generate indicators to just confirm that our idea is add value. And then, because Vall d'Hebron is inside, it's a part of Catalan Health Institute with more than 8 hospitals and more than 300 of primary care centers. So if we demonstrate that add value, then the department and the AGUAS just let us to scale up the project. So we have different kind of projects that we made that way. So we have digipathics, that it's an idea that comes from the faculties, from the anatomy pathological. So we try to digitalize all the workflow, and then we put artificial intelligence there. So we start to digitalize all the informal, the image and everything, and then we train data with AI. So, and then we scale with all these 8 hospitals, and now we have a scale up between all the different kind of hospitals in Spain. So we demonstrate that we generate value, we generate efficiency, that it's very important because we have to demonstrate that the cost in the hospital reduced, because we talk about value-based healthcare, but we still are paid by activity. So it's very important for us when we try a new idea to demonstrate this value for our payers. And we achieve a scale-up, different kind of solutions that way. We involve all the stakeholders that decide when an idea goes to the market and goes to the other kind of hospitals in our health system. So I think it's very important to work from the beginning to avoid frustration and to avoid works, no, that our faculty have. So.
Thank you, Anna. So we still have 4 minutes because it was told us 10 minutes on the clock. So you have your 4 minutes, and you can close, Clémentine. So it's your turn. So it's the idea with Clémentine is to look at the more governmental perspective. So from your viewpoint, how do you foster collaboration among hospitals, industry partners, and public authorities to accelerate innovation across the entire health system?
Thank you, Sela, and I'm a little bit relieved because of the 4 minutes. So thank you very much. I'm Clémentine Baudy. I'm the Director for International Affairs at the Health Innovation Agency. This agency is attached to the Prime Minister Officer and aims to accelerate the discovery, the development, and the uptake of innovation in the healthcare system. So I was really impressed by all the stories that you've told today. So what a government can bring in this story is first to create the most effective, to reinforce the effectiveness of research and the impact of research. So the French government is investing €1 billion to create some favorable ecosystem. These are bioclusters and hospital university institutes, and all these ecosystems aims to bring together researchers, healthcare professionals, startups, big companies, in order to discover, to develop, to improve and to accelerate innovation in health. So this is really by gathering all these forces that we create the most effective ecosystems. The bioclusters are thematic clusters in order to be seen from the outside and to create real champions in oncology, in rare disease, etc., etc. So really, it's a very, very innovative ecosystem. The second one, and you've talked about it, Michaela, is about data. So we are here also to foster the generation of data. And France has a particularity, is that we have this huge database on healthcare insurance that is covering most of the patients in France. And we have a track record of 10 years for each patient, 10 years of reimbursement in health. So we have this huge amount of data, treasure of data, and then we are working to improve the interoperability of this data to medical and clinical data to create the huge amount of data in France and to create some new innovations. Of course, we are collaborating at European level with the European Health Data Space, and we are bringing our stone in these huge projects, of course. And we are also funding, of course, cohorts in specific and dedicated areas. And then we are also trying to help hospital experiments, because innovations breaks the system, breaks the process. And we are here also to help hospitals by daring to try some innovations. And we are funding sandboxes, either for methodologicals for clinical research or for AI, always to try to dare on a specific territory, collect data, be able to improve the innovation and be able to make people understand what they can bring in the system and to scale up at a regional or national level. So this is what we are trying to do at the Health Innovation Agency.
So perfect on time. So maybe just to take 1 minute, let's wrap up with the final word from each of you. Just we have only 1 minute just to regarding your experience, how the innovation are adopted sustainably across the health system, starting maybe with Robert.
I think for me, the key ingredient here is trust. If there is one word, it's trust, because you need trust by the leadership of an organization vis-à-vis the innovators, to entrust them, to give them psychological safety, but then you need to build trust across the organization so that the innovation is adopted across the board.
Yes, I agree with you. With one word, I chose people. I think that innovation relies on people, not technology. So without culture of innovation, it's impossible to think with a purpose and to think good.
Partnership is my word, and that relates to the partnerships between universities and health systems, and the partnerships between the universities, health systems, and the industry outside as well. So creating an ecosystem as a consequence of strong, trusting partnerships.
And so my word is courage. I think we need young entrepreneurs with courage to step out of their comfort zone, out of university and hospital, but also courage on the institutional side to take decisions that allow innovation to be implemented. So courage.
My point is mindset. Let's make innovation and impact part of the scientific currency, and I see this as a game changer for Europe.
And my word would be anticipation, to be able to dedicate the proper amount of budget, the proper organization, and the proper training, and to be able to scale up the innovation as fast as possible.
So thank you very much. So please give a big applause. I'm very
Thank
happy
you.
with
Thank you very much.
our panelists.
There is a workshop now for Q&A. It's going to be upstairs. Okay. There is a room or something. Yeah, well, follow me. Thank you very much. Thank you, the panelists. You were great. Thank you.
Thank you. Merci à tous pour ce riche échange qui a ouvert nos horizons sur d'autres pratiques, d'autres cultures de l'innovation. Nous allons maintenant ouvrir la deuxième session des ateliers. Je fais très vite. Pour y participer, rendez-vous à l'étage dans l'une des 4 salles thématiques. Normalement, ça va s'afficher. Mais sinon, je vous le redis, salle F, émergence et stratégie, salle E, intégration technologique, numérique et data, salle H, transformation organisationnelle, retours internationaux, salle D, innovation territoriale et évaluation de l'impact. Les lab sessions, c'est de 15h30 à 16h30. Et à 16h30, vous avez la deuxième série de pitch sur les 3 scènes. Et dans l'Agora centrale, les conférences partenaires également. On se retrouve ici à 17h15 pour la dernière partie de cette édition. On compte sur vous. À tout à l'heure.
Majesty Queen Elizabeth, Queen Mother, has died in her 102nd year. She died at Windsor at 3:15.